The upcoming episode 7 of the Amazing Digital Circus looks like it's going to be absolute insanity, and all signs point to the tension and problems facing the circus members only getting worse from the next episode onward. However, there is still hope. A theme that was precisely addressed way back in the pilot episode and largely sidelined throughout the episodes, at least until now. Both the latest trailer and post from Glitch and Gooseworx are emphasizing a possible exit from the simulation. The first glimpse we got regarding the exit was in the pilot episode, specifically when Caine gives Pomni a tour of the whole circus. We see it for the first time just outside the tent, curiously located right next to the digital lake. This location was shown to us again recently, more than 2 years since the series premiere. Only now, this lake has been converted into the beach we'll be seeing in the next episode. What's interesting is that this first door we were shown turns out to be quite different from the one we'll see soon. That one was an orange door with an exit sign, but the arrow pointed to the left, the same side as the doorknob to open it. Meanwhile, the other door is red with a wider frame, and on this sign, the arrow points to the right, which is also where the knob is located. This inconsistency in the exit door indicates that there are actually two doors, since both occur in the same episode and are given direct focus, letting us know this isn't a mistake, but rather was done intentionally. Following this, the other mention regarding the exit door by another character came from the first abstracted character seen in the series, Kaufmo. When entering his room, we see the walls covered in multiple messages, all referring to an exit from the circus. This is exactly what drove Kaufmo to madness, and consequently to his inevitable abstraction. Later in the pilot, we see the exit door for the last time, this being the red door I mentioned earlier, appearing unexpectedly in front of Pomni. In her desperation, she enters on her own, regardless of the fact that she might be abandoning the rest of the circus members just so she can escape. However, this isn't a real exit. Later in the episode, Caine confesses that he created the exit door because everyone wanted a way to escape, but he couldn't decide what to put on the other side. It ends up being a representation of the offices of CNA, the company that appears to be the creator of the simulation where everyone is trapped. The company's logo is referenced multiple times throughout the series, such as on the revolver Jax uses in episode 6. The community has a theory that CNA stands for Caine and Abel, biblical figures who are the sons of Adam and Eve, the first humans in the Christian religion. Caine, in a fit of envy and jealousy, killed his brother Abel and was condemned to wander for eternity with the mark of shame, symbolizing his sin. This story is thought to be represented in the digital circus, with Caine obviously being Caine, while Abel, the betrayed brother, could be Bubble or even perhaps Kinger. Kinger seems to have great influence within the simulation despite not being aware of it, something we saw directly when he created a butterfly out of thin air which was able to recover a life for Ragatha in the adventure Caine created. So it's possible that Caine's betrayal is due to the fact that, as we already know, he isn't very good at performing the task he was programmed for, keeping everyone in the simulation happy and busy so they don't think too much about the traumas and conflicts that brought them to the circus in one way or another. We know this because in episode 5, during the bar scene, everyone starts talking about their past and the problems they had before arriving in the simulation, sharing the commonality that none seemed happy in the real world. However, before they can explore their internal conflicts further, Caine stops them and changes the setting. This is to stop them from dwelling on negative things, which, from Caine's perspective, would slowly lead them to depression and anxiety, and consequently to abstraction. Avoiding this tragic ending is Caine's true objective, taking the arbitrary decision to make them live through crazy and extravagant adventures to keep their minds occupied. However, as we see in Caine's cellar, he isn't exactly good at his job, having a rather large number of abstraction victims. From what we've seen with Kaufmo, and perhaps what might happen with Jax, Caine hasn't learned from his mistakes, and everything indicates he never will. At the slightest doubt regarding his ability to perform the task he was programmed for, he begins to corrupt more and more, something we saw during Zubal's therapy in episode 3. But getting back to the door, we see that Caine has recreated the CNA offices, or at least a representation of them. We don't know how he knows about them since he is just an artificial intelligence. The theory is that perhaps Caine is a circus programmer, just like Kinger, whose mind fell into madness, using his influence in the circus to try and give his existence a purpose, becoming the ringmaster of the circus and convincing himself that this is his job and what he was created for. However, these offices weren't finished, inevitably bleeding to the void. The curious thing is, why would Caine make an exit door leading to the C&A offices? They don't really mean anything to the circus members since they can't fully remember their past or how they arrived at this mysterious place. Perhaps the reason is that he created the exit door for himself as an attempt to escape his own insecurities and doubts, arriving at the offices where he was created to discover his true purpose and the reason for his existence. Quite poetic, but being so corrupted, he isn't able to fully remember this place, having to dig deeper into his memories to finish it. Something we see when he looks at those photos of some offices in episode 6. After that, we didn't have any more information regarding the exit door for a very long time, focusing more on the individual problems each circus member was suffering, emotional conflicts still unresolved. It's only now, more than 2 years since the episode's premiere, that this abandoned plotline about the exit will continue. Before the trailer released, Glitch showed us an image on social media featuring the red exit door directly, only this time it was located on the new digital beach, a place we already know will be important to a part of episode 7's plot. With just a simple image, Glitch filled us with doubts and theories about what would happen in the not so tranquil beach adventure. Then they showed us the episode trailer, where the heavy emphasis on doors is interesting, specifically the exit door. From a certain point on, it appears constantly in the background. Furthermore, the last voice we hear belongs to a still unknown character saying, "I think I found a way to leave," only for the exit door to disappear from the background in the final scene following this dialogue. All these enigmatic messages, plus the little we know so far about the exit door, give rise to many theories. The most obvious one is that, effectively, everyone will manage to escape the circus in the next episode. However, as is evident, there are still 2 more episodes in the series after this one, with the finale being episode 9. Therefore, an exit that provides closure to all pending plotlines in episode 7 is unlikely. We must also remember that Gooseworx had already commented that episodes 7 and 8 were actually a single story, which ended up being too long, so they opted to split it into 2 parts. So it is most likely that episode 7 will be the one to leave us with most questions, most of which won't be resolved until the premiere of episode 8 on March 20, 2026. It's also worth remembering that Gooseworx's one-word descriptions of the series' episodes turn out to be quite accurate. For example, the 3rd episode is described with a "damn." This was the adventure in the mansion. Quite disturbing episode, but one that above all left us very surprised to learn Kinger's history and the loss of his beloved wife Queenie, showing us that Kinger is more than just the crazy character of the circus. He is someone who has suffered a lot but continues to endure despite everything. Also, episode 5 is described with the simple haha, as this is the most relaxed of the episodes by comparison, letting us see more of the interaction between all the circus members as well as a bit of their past, but above all enjoying the adventures they themselves proposed in the suggestion box. And the last episode shown so far, episode 6, has the description guns, something quite evident that needs no explanation. Having established that the descriptions are indeed important for the general context of each episode, episode 7 has the description huh, while episode 8 says oh. This makes one thing clear to us. Episode 7 will leave us with more questions and answers, possibly ending with a cliffhanger that will be resolved along with everything else upon the release of episode 8. It's highly probable that the adventure we see in the next episode will indeed involve searching for the exit to the circus, resuming that plotline abandoned since the pilot, searching for said door throughout the circus using that bucket with many keys we saw in the trailer. These keys might be the ones Jax mentions in the pilot episode, as he claims to have keys to all the rooms, although there is also the possibility that these keys are a creation of Kinger himself. Since Ragatha saw that Kinger can create things out of nothing just like Caine, she might ask him to try creating a key to open the exit door. However, since he isn't in the dark where Kinger is more self-aware, he attempts to create the key, failing multiple times and forcing them to test the keys one by one in search of the doors they open, with the hope that one of them is the long-awaited exit from the circus. However, as we mentioned earlier, this red exit door seems to be just a creation of Caine. Behind it wouldn't be freedom, but rather the complete recreation of the C&A offices. This is where they would remember how they all arrived in the simulation, finally showing us a bit more of everyone's past, but sadly with no sign of an exit from the circus. However, it would be the job of this mysterious NPC, who has been watching everyone since the start of the series, to guide Pomni and her friends to the orange door we saw in the pilot. This is the true exit of the simulation, but it requires a specific key, one that Jax doesn't possess and that Kinger wouldn't wouldn't be able to create with his limited sanity. So they would have to enter Caine's office to get this key, having to face the abstracted beings guarding this place, thus obtaining the golden hand emblem we saw in the trailer, which is the key that will give them access to the true exit. The final objective would then be finding the orange door. However, with an overly corrupted Caine and the circus on the brink of chaos because of this, it won't be a simple task. This very door is located near the circus beach, which, as Gooseworx let us know, will be consumed by a sea of oil, trapping Jax on the process. This curious liquid might refer to the dark liquid we see in the background of what appears to be Caine's office. As an extra fact, it's the same texture Pomni vomits in the pilot episode after Caine brings her back to the tent following that tour of the circus we mentioned. However, it is worth noting that this scene with the dark liquid happens right after Pomni sees the real exit door. So it's possible that the appearance of the door triggers two very important things. First, the initial sign of someone's abstraction, something we already saw happen with Kaufmo, and which is likely to happen to Jax due to his growing emotional instability. And second, the appearance of this dark liquid which likely causes corruption, that state of data instability that happened to Ragatha in the pilot after being attacked by abstracted Kaufmo. These two events will be quite dangerous for everyone. It is probable that to arrive safe and sound at the exit, they must use the curious red car we saw more recently thanks to Glitch. It was shown for the first time on their social media to promote the new Pomni plush, in addition to being the vehicle she uses in the Glitch Kart video game. But what's truly important is that we saw this vehicle for the first time a long time ago, in an image of the series while it was unfinished. In it, we see everyone aboard the vehicle except for two people: Kinger, who is the first to fall out, and Pomni, who is barely holding on to the car. This might be the reason Pomni gets hit by the dark liquid, causing her to become slightly corrupted, while Kinger wouldn't have many problems, as we have seen that he is capable of even touching the abstracted without being affected by the corruption, something we saw when he told us his history with Queenie in episode 3. So taking all of this into account, we can outline the final scenario of the episode. Everyone arriving at the exit door together, with some more affected by corruption than others. However, upon crossing the door, the truth would be revealed. There is no real reason for the NPC to help everyone for nothing, since being a simple creation of Caine, they wouldn't have a way to leave. But wanting to try anyway, they betray everyone and cross on their own, letting us see that scene from the trailer, with the NPC smiling in a sort of portal, leaving Pomni and the rest behind. They are then consumed by the corruption, which, far from abstracting them, will plunge them into the deepest parts of their minds, with some crossing doors into their memories from before arriving at the circus. Meanwhile, others like Kinger have no choice but to resign themselves to staying alone, waiting on that chest floor surrounded by darkness where he is most sane. Not a great thing in this situation, as he has no choice but to wait for eternity. This leaves us with a rather disheartening scenario for everyone, with hopes that they can overcome their past traumas to try and fix everything and reunite once more to finally truly leave the simulation. But all of this will be resolved upon the release of episode 8, which, luckily for us, won't take too long to launch. It will be a short wait, but one full of questions about the fate of Pomni and the rest of the members of the Amazing Digital Circus.